Hello and welcome to the Knatters podcast. Today is Sunday the 8th of April 2017. I'm getting ahead of myself there, aren't I? It's Sunday afternoon and as you can see I'm back in my studio. There's a very good reason for this. Up until a couple of days ago I couldn't actually get in here. You couldn't see the floor. It had become a bit of a family joke that you just didn't come in here because if you did you'd never get out again. But actually I'm back now. I've spent a couple of days really tidying up in here, although you wouldn't think so to look over there, so it's just as well you can't see over there. So the door's over there, the window's there, and all the way around the room I've got my cupboards, I've got my stuff. Yeah, I'm much happier now because I can come back and record in here. So how have you been? What sort of week have you had? I've had quite an interesting week. I've just made a decision that actually I'm going to put more effort into this podcast for you. Not that I wasn't putting effort in before, but I'm actually going to be putting more in. I want to interact with you a lot more and I want to find out exactly what it is that you want. So please do leave comments below. You can find me, as you know, here on YouTube, but you can also find me on my blog, which is knattersknits.wordpress.com. You can find me on Ravelry in the Knatters Knits group, and I do sort of visit other groups as well. And if you actually look on my profile page, you see I'm a member of quite a lot of groups. And I've also got a Facebook page called Knatters Knits, Knatters with a K and Knits with a K obviously. So please do pop over to any of those channels as well, because what I'm going to try and do is to give you a little bit more, I was going to say for your money but you don't pay for the podcast, I'm going to give you a little bit more hopefully. So the things that we're going to talk about today I will then go and talk about on the blog, but I'll talk about slightly differently and I will put in more information in the blog for those that like written information. Obviously stuff here on YouTube, maybe have a discussion or two on Ravelry. So let's get started. First of all, I need my notes. Where have I put them? Here they are. So I've introduced myself, so that's a good start. And I've told you where you can find me. I'm also on Instagram as Knatters Knits, so it's dead easy to remember. I have got a few things to show you this week as finished objects. So here's my finished objects thread. First of all is the bag. Now if you've been following the podcast for a week or two, you will know that I've been making a bag out of my hand spun. I've been making a conscious decision to actually try and do a little bit more with my hand spun. And last week I'd knitted it and it was quite floppy, and I was asking you whether I should felt it, whether I should line it, what I should do with it. Well, thank you ever so much for all your suggestions on YouTube. I've taken a note of them and here's the finished object. Ta-da! Really pleased with it. It's not quite as bright as it's making out on camera, but it's not bad. So, handles, leather handles from Bag Clasps UK Limited. Great, and I'm going to be getting some more of those because although it did hurt my fingers to actually sew through the felted material and the lining, I really do like them. They're good quality, so I'm going to be getting some more because I've had a request from one of my daughters, Kirsten, to actually make a bigger one. She wants it about twice the depth, I think, probably to put files in and things to go to college, because she's upgrading at the moment to try and finish her education and train as a nurse. So go girl, really proud of her. So yes, I felted it. Then after that I decided lining. So I don't know if you can see, but inside there is Union flags to give it a little bit more of a sturdy feel, and it is really quite sturdy now. So there's my handmade bag. It measures 12 inches across by 9 inches down. Let's have a look at the other information I put on here. Handles are leather, exterior handspun and felted wool, the interior is cotton, and it weighs about 292 grams altogether, so just over 10 ounces. So it's not that heavy a bag, and I think it would be quite a useful addition. What do you think? Would you be prepared to buy it? Well, what I'm going to start doing, I think, is every now and again putting something like this onto my Facebook page, and we'll set up a PayPal link, and if you want to buy it, you'll be actually able to buy the exclusive things that I've made on the podcast. What do you think? So that's that one. Okay, so that's the bag. Right, next thing, spinning. Right, up here, stretch it down. Do you remember I had the Three Waters Farm braids? And I said I was going to make some yarn for George for his jumper. Well, here we go. What do you think of that? Aren't the colours gorgeous? So this was 2 braids of Three Waters Farm, and it's 2 ply, so I've actually plied the 2 together. And there's so much of it. Don't know about you, but I always struggle with trying to put things into braids like that, into skeins. There we go. That's that one. So let's have a look at the bag, because I always put the information in with it. We have 461 metres. I think I can get George a jumper out of this one. It's a 40, 40, 20, so it's 40% superwash merino, 40% ordinary merino, and 20% silk. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm so pleased with it, and it is really soft. I think he's going to enjoy that. So that's going to be one of the things that comes on my needles fairly soon, although, as you'll see a little bit later on, I have got rather a lot. Okay, so that's the spinning. The next one is more spinning I've been doing, because I've done actually quite a bit of spinning. Let me explain. This week I have been doing a course by Sarah from Sarah's Texture Crafts. She's now got My Indie Life blog. I think My Indie Life. Anyway, she's got a small business where she helps other small businesses get themselves sorted out on social media, planning, goals, all those sorts of things. And so she's been giving me a bit of a help. And it's really spurred me on. Really spurred me on. So what I've decided to do is spinning a bit more, and also to spend more time with my friends. So I've had my friend Diane came over on Thursday night, and we just spun and spun and spun and gave it this. You know how it is when friends come round. So I managed to get some done then. And then yesterday, my friend Kate, who's a massive crocheter, and I'm trying to persuade her to let me have some of her stuff to show you on here, because, oh, she's awesome. She only took up crochet a couple of years ago at the most, and she makes the most phenomenal stuff. And she is so generous, because she usually gives it away. She makes baby blankets, she makes shawls, all sorts of different things, baby items for people that she knows having babies. She is just such a generous lady. So I managed to get quite a bit of spinning done. And as Kate reminded me yesterday, I actually owe her some spinning too, because when we were at Yarndale last year, we went to the John Arbon store, and oh, I love John Arbon stuff. It's absolutely gorgeous. Now, John Arbon is a company based down in Devon, for those of you that don't know. It's one of the few British spinning mills left, and they make the most wonderful fibre, yarn. They sell socks as well. Beautiful stuff. So I got some tops. It was a packet of broken tops, and I'm in the process of spinning that as one of my side projects at the moment. But Kate also bought some. She said, oh, I really love this colour, I really love the feel of it, will you spin it for me? So, well, you know, she was good enough to come along to Yarndale with me, so of course I said yes. So what have I been doing? Well, I've got 3 skeins of yarn to show you. Oops, everything hits the floor. I've got this one, which is turquoises and purples. Really nice. I've got this one, which is the remains of the stuff that I actually made for the bag. So there's potential for another bag in there. And then I finished this one at 3 o'clock this morning. And this one is a fat fibre box. Can you see all that sparkly just here? Don't know if it's showing up very well on camera, but it is absolutely gorgeous. So this one is a mixture of all sorts of different fibres. There is merino, there is stellina, there's nylon, there's superwash merino, you name it. I think probably if you can name a fibre, there's probably that in there. But look at all the different colours in it. Looky. I think this is going to make a lovely bag. I did try to make a pair of sort of slipper socks of fill out of this, and it ain't working. It's too some of it is really quite coarse, so I think again it's probably going to make a really, really good bag. So Kirsten, I think probably a mixture of these. I might add this in, but it's a bit pale. And again, I'm thinking of putting some navy blue at the bottom like I did in mine. So if you've got any objections, let me know that you don't want this, but that's my hand spinning this week. So I'm really quite pleased with that. That's over there. Right, so what have I been doing in the way of works in progress? Works in progress, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so George's jumper, George being my grandson, if you don't know already. I started it, I showed you the back last week. I haven't done any more on it since. I have been rather busy. But as he's due to come up next weekend, I think this is going to be one of the projects I work on this week, trying to get that finished for him. And being only 9 months, it's quite doable. So I've got the front, 2 sleeves, and then I'm going to knit on the little collar afterwards. Might even make it a hoodie, but maybe I'm making that too complicated for trying to get it done in a week. The next thing I've got is my socks. You'll probably remember I'd already finished one. This is the Viking Yarns. Actually, it's more, that's better. Viking Yarns in the Ember colourway, and this is a merino cashmere nylon blend. And oh, it's so soft, it's really lovely. So this week I've been a bit out and about with my husband. He has been on warfarin for a good few years now because he had an episode of atrial fibrillation. And they did a cardiac ablation where they actually burnt away some of the nerve pathway to stop these silly electrical impulses firing off at random. And that seems to have stopped his atrial fibrillation. He seems to be a lot better. And he's been on it and stayed on it, and actually he's done so well that they discharged him, so that was really good. But the hospital we go to is in Blackpool, and that's the regional centre for cardiology. So when I go, I always take some knitting because it's between 20 minutes an hour depending on the traffic journey to get there, and then you know what hospitals are like, you're sitting, you're waiting around, and then the journey back again. So I thought I might get cast on with the socks. So I've only got a little bit done. You can't see really well because of the variegation of the yarn, but I only did the cuff up to here, and I'm now on the main body. So again, that's another project I need to crack on with this week. Just a simple vanilla sock. The yarn is far too variegated to do patterns, and to be honest, I think I've only ever done 2 or 3, maybe at the most, pattern socks. I tend to knit vanilla socks because the yarns I like are very variegated. I have, however, got some Wollmeise, which I'm thinking about making some more socks with, and that's single colour, so maybe I'll do a pattern. But I have horrendous memories of as a child wearing those. I don't know if anybody of you remember back in the 1970s. Yeah, I know most of you were too young to be in that time. But we used to have these school socks that were quite patterned and actually used to leave marks on your skin. So that rather put me off patterned socks. Maybe I should give them another go. I've done a little bit more on the shawl that I'm designing, but again, I'm not going to show you that one because I want it to be a surprise. You did get a peek of it 1 or 2 episodes ago, I think, but I'm still working on that one. And because I'm doing this one as a design actually as I knit, it's very difficult to show you anything really, or to even talk about it, because I don't know how it's going to end up. It's very much an adventure. It's a bit like being in a mystery knit along. The only problem is that nobody else is controlling the mystery bits of it except me. So we'll see how that one turns out. But I'm quite pleased. I've got now 3 of the insert sections in, so it's looking good. Now the last thing I've been working on really has been my spinning. I mentioned the fibre that I'm doing for Kate, and if I get a chance I'll put a picture of that in at the end because it's gorgeous. Up till now I've always sort of, when I've been spinning, been saying, oh well, you know, you spin the way it wants to be, and to be honest, a lot of the time it's just come out as double knitting because that's my default. However, this Broken Tops from John Arbon is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It's come out so that it is actually spinning the way it wants to be, not the way I want it to be, which is a shame because Kate actually wanted a sort of a double knitting to Aaron's sort of weight because she crochets. And she makes big baby blankets, but this is actually turning out to be quite fine, and I think I'll be lucky if I get it to a 4-ply. So we'll see what we see with that one, but the colours are gorgeous, so I'll put a picture in at the end, or even here. The other one I'm doing is from a company called Porpoise Fur. Rachel that runs that company is based down in London, and her day job is as a lab scientist in a hospital, and she really gets inspired by colourways from things she's seen. Some of the first ones she did was a colour called MRI, and I absolutely loved it. As after the multi-resonance image scanning and all the colours that you can get on that. You may remember I talked about that way back at the beginning of my podcasts, which is getting on for nearly 40 episodes ago, so you know, you may or you may not, but that's that one. That one is sort of a pinky reddy colour and yellows, so that's maybe a rhubarb and custard thing, but it's not quite a rhubarby colour, because rhubarb tends to have a bit of greeniness to it. Anyway, you'll see when I put some pictures up. So I'd like to talk now a little bit about podcasts. Not my podcast, but other people's podcasts. I have spent, and I do now spend a lot of time watching podcasts. I'm subscribed to probably about 70 or 80 of them. I don't watch them all, and I don't watch them all as they come out, apart from a couple. Now, I've waxed lyrical about Christy Glasses before, and I still am watching hers, because she makes them small, they're very, very quick. She's so full of enthusiasm that, you know, you really can't help but have that enthusiasm rub off on you, so that's always good for brightening my day. It's nice to see her as somebody, well, I say she's younger, she's in her 30s. It's nice to see her develop her knitting, so that's really, really nice. And this week she's been on a sock class, she's done all sorts of different things, so definitely worth a watch. Another one that I meant to mention last week but forgot, sorry Dave, you remember a little while ago I did a podcast with Goth Heart Creations and Knit Monkey in the FO&I podcast. Well, the FO&I podcast is no more. And Ellie has now got her own podcast, Goth Heart Creations, and last week Dave started his own podcast, and it's called Knit Monkey, with the 2 T's, of course. If you like irreverent humour, a little bit of dryness to it, quirky, man knitter, then he's definitely the one for you. He has got a very different take on life to a lot of us, but I love it. I really, really do. And because I've actually met him, I feel, yeah, no, I want to support him and watch it. So that's him. And he talks a little bit about his knitting, a little bit about the gaming he does, all sorts of different things. So he's one to watch. Another one I've been watching is one called Lone Larch. That was recommended to me. Again, I love it, and I have subscribed to it. How do I describe it? I can't. All I can say is just go and look for Lone Larch, Lonelarch. Definitely another one to look at. And again, in the same sort of vein as the Celtic Knits one that I talked about in the past. So there's that one. And another one I've just got into, thanks to Christy Glass Knits, is one called Espace Tricot. Now, Espace Tricot is actually a shop in Canada, in Montreal, and the 2 people that run the shop actually do the podcast. Now, interestingly enough, one of them doesn't now live in Montreal, she lives in New York. So the first ever episode started off with the 2 of them together, but not long after the podcast they found that the second one had to move to New York. So now it's a split screen, but it's working well, I think, and it's interesting to see somebody else's take on the knitting world, what's hot and trendy. It's interesting to see what other people in different parts of the world are knitting, how they went into great lengths in one of the episodes I was watching about how they stock their shop, how they know what to put in, and that's really, really interesting as well, and Ravelry's got a big part to play in that. So that was really, really good. So there's some other ones I've been watching on top of my usual Fibre Nymph Dye Works, the Knit Girls, Danny, Little Bobbins Knits, and of course the Grocery Girls. So I've been watching some mainstream and some not quite so mainstream, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. So that's my podcast recommendations for this week. Next section I want to come on to is something that I want to call the learning zone. And I'm going to stop here because I need to go and get something. There, I'm back. So my question to you is, how do you know whether a yarn is 4-ply, double knitting or whatever? Well, I'm going to show you how. Imagine you've found a couple of balls of yarn in your stash and you're thinking, is it, isn't it? I'm not sure. One of the things you can do is do something that's called working out wraps per inch. And basically I have a tool like this. It's just a piece of wood with a 1-inch section cut out. You could use a ruler, something like my wrist one. I don't think you can probably, oh yeah, you can just about see there that there's inches and centimetres on that one. Or you could use your standalone ordinary school ruler that you probably still have knocking around the house somewhere, or maybe your kids have got a spare one, that sort of thing. And all you do is you get your yarn, get the thing you're going to wrap it around, and slowly wrap around the tool like this. Now that's a bit wide, so let's move those up, but you don't want to squish them. So how many can I get there? Can you see? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 wraps per inch. Well, I just happen to have a tool that tells me 12 to 14 wraps per inch is double knitting. And so therefore that yarn is double knitting, which it is. So that works. So just in case you're saying, no, it's a setup, I've got some more yarn. Now the one I've just shown you is from a dyer who's no longer dyeing, and I loved her yarn. This one is a Goth Heart yarn. One of the ones that Ellie dyed at the very beginning of when I first met her and first knew her. And this one, lovely blues and greys and whites. I made Phil a pair of socks with this, and that's the leftovers. I know, leftovers. I could get another pair of socks, I think, out of that much. So, what weight is this? So again, you just get your tool, and you, not tight, not squeezing it tight, because you don't want to take the air out of it. You just wrap it around your tool, like this. I have to move those up a bit. Now this is supposed to be for socks, and it's supposed to be a standard sock weight. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. And my 21 tells me that's fingering weight, because I know that fingering weight is 19 to 22. So yeah, that is socks. There we go. So that's wraps per inch. I've done a little demonstration as well, just in case you don't remember this and don't want to watch all through the podcast again. I've actually put it up in picture format on my wordpress.com site, so that's knattersknits.wordpress.com, and that will be there for you to be able to go and have a look and work it out. So you've been able to work out exactly what weight of yarn you've got, even if you've actually got it out of a great big basket maybe that you've got of leftovers and you're not really sure. So that'll help a little bit. Also helps when you come to look at sizes and maybe thinking about, well, I've got this yarn, will it actually work with this pattern that I'm trying to work on? So the next thing I wanted to talk about is I've talked about fingering weight and I talked about double knitting weight. But actually, it's very confusing because it depends in what part of the world you live as to what sort of terminology you use. Rather than go into a lot of detail on here, go and have a look at my blog, because I've actually explained it in more detail there about the different terminologies and about what they are. You might find that that's quite helpful, you might not. If not, leave me a comment below and then I can actually tackle it again next time. Because what I'm going to talk about next time is about how you actually work out what this random ball is made of. I know some people say, well, you know, I need to know whether it's superwash or not. I need to know whether it's wool or whether it's synthetic fibres because the person that I'm knitting for is allergic to wool or whatever. And you've got this random ball and you don't know and you really love the colours. So next time, on the next podcast, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to look at how you work out. And word of warning, there will be science on the podcast and I will actually be showing you by setting light to stuff. Yes, that's a hazard warning for everybody who just needs that warning a little bit. So that's what we're going to talk about next time. What else have I got to talk about? Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about barber poling. I don't know if any of you know what a barber pole is. I'll put a picture in here. And then I'll explain a little bit more. I don't particularly like the effect of barber poling. That's this. And you see how some of the pliers actually look, especially the yellow and red ones here, they've got that twisted look. That's when you get two different colours and you ply them together. Not a look I like, however, as you saw with the bag, it can make the most lovely effects in your knitting. See all that mild effect there? Little pops of colour. So it depends on what you want to do, why you want to do it, and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in barber poling, I know that Fibre Nymph Dye Works, hosted by Lisa Beamer, or I don't know if her name's Beamer now because she's recently got married, Lisa from the Fibre Nymph Dye Works and also from the 90% Knitting podcast has actually set up a new fibre club for those people who are interested in spinning, who would like to do barber pole. She's actually going to do kits. I won't go into a lot of detail here because if you go onto YouTube and look for her latest podcast, she's actually got a whole section there on barber poling, how you do it, all the way different ways you can make all these different colours happen. I mean, I do it, as you can see, but it's not my favourite to knit with. I like things very plain and simple, except when I do the bags. And for this is absolutely brilliant. But if you like those pops of colour and you want something different, barber poling could be the way to go. So that's Fibre Nymph. I think the only thing I've got left to show you now is what I've bought. So this week, look at my Wheel of Fortune, this thing whizzes around. I've got two different yarns to show you. I've got this one. You see all the little bits of tweed neps in there. This is Donegal DK and it's dyed by Sarah's Texture Crafts. Love the colours, and again I'm thinking about maybe something for George for this one. It is superwash merino, so it may well do, although make a nice hat or a gorgeous cowl. I don't know. What do you think? And the other one I got, I am such a sucker for Instagram and Facebook offers. I really am. It's funny, we were talking about it last night and Kate and I were talking about shopping. And I said to her, I don't go shopping anymore. And she said, what do you mean you don't go shopping? I said, well, I don't need to. A, I haven't got a car anymore, hence, you know, why I'm stuck at home. Because my last car was a company car, and of course I had to give that back when my job finished. So I don't tend to go out because catching the bus when you live in a rural area is a real faff, an absolute faff. And to go to the places I want to go to, there aren't any direct buses, so you have to go into town, back out and catch another bus, and I can't be doing with it. I really can't. So I tend to just do a lot of my shopping online. I even do my grocery shopping online. The only time I actually go out to get anything is when I go to the chemist to pick up my regular prescription. Go figure. So here's one I succumbed to on Facebook. Just look at the colours in that. I don't know if you can see the sparkle. Doesn't seem to be showing very much sparkle, does it? But it is, believe me, it is absolutely sparkly. Gorgeous colours. And this is from a company called Truly Hooked Hand Dyed Yarns. That's their logo there. It's sparkle DK with nylon, 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina. So there's 225 metres in 100 grams. And this is so soft. I'm really surprised it's that soft. I think you can just catch the sparkles there, can't you? It's a lot more sparkly in real life. It is lovely. I don't know what to make with it yet. The reason I succumbed is because she does something called a Lush Club. Now, for those of you in the UK will have heard of the company Lush that make bath bombs and all those sorts of lovely naughty goodies. And yes, that's exactly the sort of Lush she was talking about. And so what you get, depending on which box you choose, you can have 100 grams, 200 grams, and as you can see, I actually got 2 of them. You can get all sorts of different fibres, and you can get, depends on what you ask for, different sorts of Lush. Well, there was a gorgeous bath bomb in this one, and I'm going to go and use it in a little while. Sunday afternoon, why not? I think a nice soak, maybe a glass of wine, could be just up my street. So there we are. That's that one. And considering it's superwash and nylon, actually it's really bouncy, it's lovely and soft. I haven't knit up a swatch yet, but I will be doing. I like it. I really like it a lot. And the stellina isn't scratchy. I find sometimes with some stellinas they are quite scratchy, but this one isn't at all. You can't feel that it's there. It's really lovely, really lovely. So that's my Truly Hooked. And it's called the Experimenter colourway. Well, if that's what your experimenters are like, I like your experiment. So that's that one. Anything else I've got to show you this week? No. That's it, I think. Right, so that's about it for the week. I am going to try and podcast every week from now on. I'm hopefully going to have a nice series of educational stuff that I'm going to split between the podcast and my wordpress.com site. Might even spill over into the Facebook site from time to time. But what I'd really like you to do just now is to go over to Ravelry, join the Knatters Knits group please, and go and see what's there, because there's a giveaway. Now I'm going to create this as a bit of a mystery. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to go and find out. All I can say, it's got something to do with London. I'm saying no more. Absolutely no more. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. If there's anything else you'd like to see, leave me something down below or write on the Ravelry page, because there's loads of room there for you to write comments, have discussions, get to know each other. I'd love to see that board really take off, because at the moment it's rather quiet. Please, please, please start putting things like recommendations, share the videos, share things with your friends. I'd really love us to have a bigger audience. And then hopefully once I have a bigger audience, I can start putting bigger prizes, much more exciting prizes up for grabs. So I hope you have a fantastic week. I know I'm going to have a good one. Rachel's coming on Friday. And of course, at the very end, I will put a little bit of a George update. Just 1 or 2 pictures for today, I think. No more than that. I'm not going to bore you rigid with him, because I don't want to become that doting grandma on screen. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you really, really soon. Take care. Bye.